Is God's law useless for Christians? Have the commandments been abolished? Let's see what John Calvin thinks. Believers have need of the law. It admonishes and urges us on in well-doing. The third and principal use of the law, which pertains more closely to the proper purpose of the law, finds its place among believers in whose hearts the Spirit of God already lives and reigns. For even though they have the law written and engraved upon their hearts by the finger of God, that is, have been so moved and quickened through the directing of the Spirit that they long to obey God, they still profit by the law. Here is the best instrument for them to learn more thoroughly each day the nature of the Lord's will, to which they aspire, and to confirm them in the understanding of it. It is as if some servant, already prepared with all earnestness of heart to commend himself to his master, must search out and observe his master's ways more carefully in order to conform and accommodate himself to them. And not one of us may escape from this necessity. For no man has heretofore attained to such wisdom as to be unable, from the daily instruction of the law, to make fresh progress toward a purer knowledge of the divine will. Again, because we need not only teaching but also exhortation, the servant of God will also avail himself of this benefit of the law, by frequent meditation upon it to be aroused to obedience, be strengthened in it, and be drawn back from the slippery path of transgression. In this way the saints must press on. For, however eagerly they may in accordance with the Spirit strive toward God's righteousness, the listless flesh always so burdens them that they do not proceed with due readiness. Even for a spiritual man, not yet free of the weight of the flesh, the law remains a constant sting that will not let him stand still. Doubtless David was referring to this use when he sang the praises of the law. The law of the Lord is spotless, converting souls. The righteous acts of the Lord are right, rejoicing hearts. The precept of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eyes. Psalm 18. Likewise, thy word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119. And innumerable other sayings in the same psalm. These do not contradict Paul's statements, which show not what use the law serves for the regenerate, but what it can of itself confer upon man. But here the prophet proclaims the great usefulness of the law. The Lord instructs by their reading of it those whom he inwardly instills with a readiness to obey. He lays hold not only of the precepts, but the accompanying promise of grace, which alone sweetens what is bitter. David especially shows that in the law he apprehended the mediator, without whom there is no delight or sweetness. Whoever wants to do away with the law entirely for the faithful understands it falsely. Certain ignorant persons, not understanding this distinction, rashly cast out the whole of Moses and bid farewell to the 2 tables of the law. For they think it obviously alien to Christians to hold to a doctrine that contains the dispensation of death. Banish this wicked thought from our minds. For Moses has admirably taught that the law, which among sinners can engender nothing but death, ought among the saints to have a better and more excellent use. When about to die, he decreed to the people as follows: Lay to your hearts all the words which this day I enjoin upon you, that you may command them to your children, and teach them to keep, do, and fulfill all those things written in the book of this law. For they have not been commanded to you in vain, but for each to live in them. Deuteronomy 32. There are not many rules, but one everlasting and unchangeable rule to live by. For this reason we are not to refer solely to one age. David's statement that the life of a righteous man is a continual meditation upon the law, for it is just as applicable to every age, even to the end of the world. We ought not to be frightened away from the law, or to shun its instruction merely because it requires a much stricter moral purity than we shall reach while we bear about with us the prison house of our body. For the law is not now acting toward us as a rigorous enforcement officer who is not satisfied unless the requirements are met. But in this perfection to which it exhorts us, the law points out the goal toward which throughout life we are to strive. In this the law is no less profitable than consistent with our duty. If we fail not in this struggle, it is well. Indeed, This whole life is a race. When its course has been run, the Lord will grant us to attain that goal to which our efforts now press forward from afar. When the Lord testifies that He came not to abolish the law but to fulfill it, and that, until heaven and earth pass away, not a jot will pass away from the law until all is accomplished, Matthew 5, He sufficiently confirms that by His coming nothing is going to be taken away from the observance of the law, and justly, inasmuch as He came rather to remedy transgressions of it. Therefore, through Christ the teaching of the law remains inviolable. By teaching, admonishing, reproving, and correcting, it forms us and prepares us for every good work.